On the road again. Matt just can't wait to get on the road again. Welcome to the Lovecraft Easing podcast, where, most importantly, once again, Matthew Carpenter is driving in his car during the episode. Right, Matt?
And I turn on the radio.
Listen, I don't want to listen to your guidance system
It's
this time.
Springsteen, man.
No, I don't want to listen to your turn left like last episode.
Okay.
So
Matt's in the Sunshine Chopper.
I'll sing show tunes.
Name that movie.
Pontypool.
Love it. Nice. Well, Matt, yeah, let's do an introductions. You go first because you have a prize, right?
Yes.
Pretty cool prize, actually.
The prize is I'm going through all my stuff. I turned out I had both a DVD copy and a Blu-ray copy of Fear of the Unknown. This is the biopic of Lovecraft from about 2009, where they interview Bob Price, Neil Gaiman, about 10 people to talk about Lovecraft and influence. It's a very entertaining, although they don't use rough edges very much. Anyway, if you want to win, this is the DVD version. If you want to win the DVD, send an email to easingprizes@gmail.com and put fear in the subject heading. We'll draw a winner in about 6-7 weeks. It could be you.
I forget the name of the guy who created that.
I forget. I don't have it right in front of me.
Yeah, I apologize if you're listening, man. But me and him and Cody Goodfellow were waiting for our planes one time after Necronomicon, and yeah, he talked about it, and I think it was on YouTube at the time. Also, I said, "Does that piss you off?" And he goes, "No, I'm fine. I just want people to see it." So that was cool.
Yeah, I think this is one of only. I think there are 4 separate Lovecraft biopics on disc or film, and this is one of the better ones.
Yeah, it is. Well, I am Mike Davis, in case this is your first podcast, and this is the Lovecraft Easing podcast, but we talk about all kinds of horror. And speaking of horror, Pete Rollick has just arrived. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Not really.
Okay, that's fine too. I'm good with it. Pete Rollick writes books. His latest book is This Is Where You Take Over.
Herbert West, Reanimator versus Dorian Gray.
Right.
I can't remember half this time. So.
Okay.
Oh my God, read that book, people, because there's that one story where they take the condition of Dorian Gray to its logical conclusion from somebody else. Oh man.
Oh, wow. You like that story?
Oh my God, you creep me out totally.
She might come back.
How? Never mind. Don't.
All right. I haven't read that story yet, so I just wrote myself a note. So, yeah, Bridget.
Hello, Bridget, composer, artist.
Yeah, musician.
Lady about town.
Yeah, she's helping me with the new podcast, The Weird Library, fiction podcast that I'm doing, and Bridget's doing a lot to help me with it. Art, music, things like that. And even for the first one, she narrated it. And I do an intro and an outro, kind of like the old Mystery Theater, more or less, without the commercials. And the next episode will be up this week, and it'll be a Laird Barron story. So yeah, thanks for all your help, Bridget.
Yeah,
Mike,
welcome.
is the opposite of retro outro? What's the opposite of retro? Nowtro?
Retro? Now?
Yeah.
Nowtro, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Utro?
Protro.
Yeah,
Okay.
make up a word. Shakespeare did it all the time. Why can't we?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Todd does it in his work all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if it's good enough for Kiesling, it's good. It should be good enough for all of us. Even Clay.
That's the secret sauce.
Yeah. Why am I
just-
still spotlighting on myself?
I don't
Jeez,
know.
Lord.
I was just mesmerized by your
forgot to
you know,
take
your
off-
glowing
yeah.
face.
I'm like, here's my background, then I forget to take it off. Sorry. People watching her was like, geez, you're not the guest, dude. Bronzo.
Hey, it's Mike, architect, artist, and I've rediscovered Wild Boy and Bigfoot, which I didn't know I needed in my life until now.
Yeah, really,
Look it up, people.
you know what? I'm gonna try to remember to link to this in the show notes because it's just I'm writing myself a note right now in the show notes. Big foot. This just too it's just too wonderful not to link to it. So
It's incredibly horrible looking, and I can't wait to see it.
well, explain what it is. It's a show from 1977 starring Bigfoot, right? It actually
And
ran
what?
for yeah.
Yeah, and a blonde guy named Wild Boy, presumably, and they're like buddy
Wild Boy.
cryptids or something like that. The buddy cryptid
Yeah.
show you didn't know you needed.
Yeah.
Why are
I
you doing
watched
this?
this.
Mike D? Mike, why are you doing this to
There's
us? I
Two
mean,
Mike
I
D's here.
was so perfectly happy not knowing this existed.
Mhm.
So
Oh, come
Oh,
on now. Waka chicka music in that. That was just on point.
What's the name? Right. Oh, it's just called what was it called?
I think it's just Wild Boy and Bigfoot.
Yeah.
Bigfoot and Wild Boy.
So what
Or that.
happened was DeBronzo messages all yesterday with yeah, exactly. That was the background with this slow-mo of Bigfoot, you know, looking so graceful.
Yeah, it's like a decathlon athlete. It's amazing.
It was
Yeah.
missing the $1 million man like as Bigfoot was jumping though. So like
What year
right.
did the
That would've
Incredible Hulk
just-
come on? What year?
That's 70s too, probably around about the same time,
Because
right?
I figured
70?
what I think when I saw it, I'd never heard of it before, and which isn't surprising really. But as soon as I saw it, I thought someone watched the Incredible Hulk and thought we'll do our own version. You know?
They did a version of something
Yeah.
memorable.
like Great American Hero meets yeah.
But
You-
I watched
yeah.
this when I was a kid.
Oh God, we have a witness.
Oh yeah.
Please do
This
share.
is, this is part
That's
of the Sid
amazing.
and Marty Croft Power Hour.
I understand you now. I understand you now.
It was right up there with Sigmund the Sea Monster,
Automan. Automan.
HR Puffin stuff.
You're a big fan of Automan, right?
Yeah, well, don't you dare blaspheme HR Puffin stuff.
Lidsville.
He won't even answer me about Automan. He's bitter.
Automan was yeah.
Todd and
No.
Clay, you know, you can make fun of these guys too.
you know,
you don't have to.
I just want to say something that's gonna piss everybody off at me.
It's
as an
okay.
elder
It happens
millennial, I
every
have
week.
no idea what the hell you guys are talking about.
You were playing. I thought you were gonna say. I thought you were gonna say you played Wild Boy as a child.
Oh, you got me.
No,
It
Todd,
probably
if it
reflects
was
better on you, Todd, that you
Todd, if it was 24 hours ago, I would be saying the exact same thing. Mike DeBronzo inflicted this on us. You know?
How dare you?
Yeah.
What I think
Thanks.
really happened, Mike DeBronzo,
Mm,
is that
okay.
I think the producers at Sid and Marty Croft
All right, go. Check.
saw Bionic Man versus Bigfoot and said,
yes.
we can make a series out of that.
You know what they
Yeah.
We
said
need some
was,
of that.
we can make him run faster. We can make him
Way
furrier.
cheaper.
And not only can we make it, we can do it cheaper and we can probably make a profit out of it.
28 episodes later.
Yeah.
Boom.
Yeah, now you're gonna have to link that trailer in the video.
I'm going to. If we had to suffer through it, then so should all of the listeners and
The work is
guests.
done.
Yes, you both have to promise me that you'll, when I put this up, you'll click on that link and suffer.
I'm never gonna do that.
Suffer.
do
Yes,
you want
you will.
to do an MS3?
No,
No.
I think that's a great idea. Yeah, we're due for another Mystery Science. Let me just jot this.
You
down.
realize you just committed to watching more of it, Mike.
Oh, but only one episode.
No, don't do as I do. Do as I say.
What I'll do is I'll set it up have you guys watch and then I'll walk away. We did a Mystery Science Theater 3000 a couple months ago for the Patreons, Todd and Clay.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, what did we watch?
It was atrocious.
Shriek of the
and
Mutilated.
Oh, Shriek
How
of the
could you
Mutilated.
forget?
Yeah,
It'd be hard to find something more atrocious than that movie.
my two guests are like, why the fuck do we care about this?
Oh,
Oh
shit?"
no, they
There's
watched
more.
the show. They chose to come on. They knew what
That's
they were
true.
getting into.
That's
You know what you
true.
signed up for?
Yeah. Yeah, that's very true. Okay. Guilt gone. Thank you, Relic. Appreciate that.
After being married 5 times, I can find a way out of anything.
Even guilt.
Even guilt.
Yeah, speaking of Patreons, for the a couple of tiers, I mailed books yesterday to you guys. I hope you enjoy them. They're gonna arrive separately. Enjoy. For the ones not at that tier, in fact, every Patreon gets this. We uploaded the Sandy Peterson interview episode last week. That was a lot of fun, and of course, there's a million other Patreon episodes on there, including what scares Laird Barron. Well, not it. It freaked him out at the time. Laird did a show with me about the strange but true things that have happened to him. I will not spoil it for anyone who's not listened to it or watched it. It's on Patreon, Lovecraft Easy Patreon. All I will say is this: shower curtain. That's the only thing I'm going to say. You haven't listened to it, Bridget? No, because yeah.
So the next time I see Laird,
Uh-huh.
I'm gonna ask him. All I'm gonna say is just shower curtain.
Yeah.
See if he.
Well, say he'll look puzzled at first and say, "Mike said to say shower curtain to you."
Shower curtain.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like
So
a safe word, but not.
safe words are for sissies. Yeah, if you watch the show on YouTube, clicking like, subscribing to the show, I mean, everyone says that on YouTube, but it does help. What also really helps the algorithm is commenting on YouTube. So let's say you listen on Spotify, comment on the show, flip over to YouTube. I always include the YouTube link in the audio podcast. You can click on over and say hi or comment on what we talked about. And the other thing that helps the audio podcast is our reviews on Apple. For some reason, that helps more than just about anything. So I appreciate that. And if you're a Patreon, then I really appreciate it because you've gone above and beyond. Our guests today are Clay McLeod Chapman and Todd Kiesling. Hey guys.
What's up?
Have you guys, my first question is, have you guys seen Shriek of the Mutilated?
No,
Wow.
I can't say that I have.
Okay.
That's a deep
You
cut.
should
though.
be so happy.
Don't change that, whatever you do.
Yeah. I've seen it 3 times, and like a half a time was enough.
No, I have seen it. It's that was a kind of a VHS get back in the video store days.
Yes.
I'm trying to remember what the cover looked like.
Such an overachiever, Clay. Of course you've seen it.
Oh, the cover. Yeah, the cover is,
Is it like a Bigfoot thing or
yeah,
Yes, it is.
It's a gem.
there we go. Oh yeah, crap. Images.
is there a reason why we should have watched this? Is this homework?
You didn't get the memo?
We're talking about it today?
No, we're never going to talk about it again.
Open image.
And yet somehow,
and
We
some
keep-
yet somehow
Is it Sasquatch? It's like Yeti.
No, like a sheepdog.
yeah. Yeah.
This is
So
like
anyway,
the paperbacks
Like a
from
man
hell
in a
thing.
sheepdog costume.
it's a man dog.
it's a dog man. Thank you.
Well, this kind of serious dialogue is why people listen to the show. So I had to ask you that. Todd Kiesling has a new book out. It's
Two.
collection, September, right?
Yeah, it came out in September.
Yeah. It's called Cold, Black, and Infinite. Thank you, Clay.
I love that you guys have copies of my book, but I don't. It's on my shelf. I forgot to grab it.
Should I read it for like in preparation for this?
I mean, you could.
Yeah, okay. I did. The and then Clay has written a book that is titled What Kind of Mother? Let me hold up the PDF there. You can see it. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Todd.
Beautiful,
I just
beautiful
give you
book.
shit, Clay. I don't care.
I just lost my place. Oh my god. Beautiful
page 2.
hardcover. They did this
Yeah,
like
it's a nice cover.
sandy look to it.
Yeah, and little known fact, Clay got the title from his editor. After his editor read the book, he emailed Clay and said, "What kind of motherfucker would write shit like this?" And so they shortened it to "What Kind of Mother." That's true, right?
I mean, you're half right. She wrote me, and for the longest time, the title was it had 3 titles. And like the first was kind of like a placeholder title. It was like missing person.
Right.
And then for the longest time, it was Peeler. It's going to be called Peeler
Oh,
for
right.
a year. And then my editor wrote and it was like, so we've talked to marketing and PR people and nobody likes Peeler. Can we call it something else? And I was a little bummed about that, but the book it keeps kind of cycling through that idea of what kind of mother, what kind of mother, what kind of mother. And so
Yeah.
they're like, we just call it What Kind of Mother. And I was like, okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
Because it has like a little bit more of a multi-purpose. It could be a question, it could be an accusation, it could be a motherfucker, but it's
What kind of mother would do that? Yeah.
That's the title of your autobiography right there. What kind of motherfucker?
yeah, I'm working on it. I'm working on it. Just give me
So I'm sorry, guys. Did you see the movie American Fiction in the theater?
Haven't even heard of it.
No.
Okay, it's up for an Oscar, particularly as a great screenplay. It's about this guy. He's sort of this very intellectual. He's African American, and he writes all these intellectual books, and nobody buys them. And so, out of exasperation, he writes a Black book about someone from the hood, and its initial title is My Pathology. And then when he's really pissed off that people are liking it because it's so real and it's just all bullshit, he says, let's change the title of Fuck. And then that's what the book is marketed as, Fuck. And it wins a bunch of awards.
Well, actually, in the second part of today's show, I was going to recommend the book, and I'm not kidding, The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck. I'm a lifelong student of Taoism, and in a weird way, this really jives with Taoism. Jibes, not jives. But if you're stressed, if you need focus in your life, I've read it a couple times now, and it's really good. It's also on Audible. Anyway, you just reminded me, Matt, of Shadow Voices that Pete Relic recommended to me. We'll talk about this more in the second hour, but in the introduction, Pete, he's talking about at a meeting where he's going to get an award, and this Irish critic leans over to him and he goes, he said kindly, "You write very well," to John Connolly. "Have you ever considered applying yourself to something more appropriate to your talents?" So
Wow.
I thought, what a great first question for all of my guests, So yeah, that's pretty bad.
Okay.
Yeah, so I would imagine most people who are listening to this know who you guys are, or at least aware of you. But for those who don't, could we start with each of you? Just tell us a little bit about yourself, tell the audience a little bit about yourself, and then let's talk about your books and some other things. So whoever wants to go first. Clay,
Oh
I picked you
man.
randomly.
The first book of Todd's that I read was
Oh my
called
God.
Scanlines.
Oh yeah,
And
that's going to go on my list of weird horror
yeah.
film
Thank
books.
you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And I believe I read it before I actually even met Todd, at least in person. I mean,
Yeah.
we were very fortunate to have been included together in the Nightworms book package.
Hmm.
Um, and it was really exciting because it was like was V a part of it as well?
Yeah, it was you, me, and V.
Yeah, my God, like that. I mean, just to be amongst the two of you, but reading Scanlines was really, like, I mean that one doesn't take any prisoners, and I feel like just the kind of sheer, I was gonna say brutality to it, but I mean I think like the kind of emotional honesty of it, um, was so kind of overwhelming that like I remember. We were, of course, like Facebook friends or virtual friends, social media friends. But then when I met you in person, I had that kind of like, like that kind of like heart hiccup where I was just like, oh my God, this is the guy who wrote Scanlines. Because, you know, beyond, I mean, the cover, of course, is very arresting and very kind of eye-catching and kind of demands your attention. But then when you read it, um, it just doesn't take any prisoners. And like I don't know, like when you read a book and you're just like, this is something that needs to be reckoned with. Like it's asking you to kind of like actively partake in the understanding of it. It's like, well, how do you feel about this? How do you like?
Right.
It's so easy to kind of like read something and it kind of like drifts through your mind, your imagination, and then it's gone, and then you're off to the next book. But that book is kind of like, I feel like it constantly draws these lines in the sand where it's like, well, how do you feel about this? Like, what do you like, you know? And it's just so brutal, man. I was scared of you. You're
You're not
scary. You're a
you're not the
scary
first
writer.
person. Thanks. You're not the first person to tell me that. Like they read that book and then they're like they meet me and they're thinking that I'm just gonna be this really cold and hard-edged kind of person, and I'm really not. I mean, if I didn't write that book, maybe, but
Yeah.
that's very kind of you to say, though. Thank you.
Which is why when you read Cold, I know I'm jumping and I'm not doing
That's
the
all right.
assignment, but when you read Cold, Black, and Infinite, I was like, there was a part of me that was like, okay, now I'm ready. Now I'm ready for Todd. And like, I know what to expect. And he's going to like, you know, he's going to not pull any punches. And I feel like I've talked to Todd about this already. So this is kind of not new to him, but like the thing that I wasn't prepared for was how funny it is that like this notion of the stories in Cold Black and Infinite, like I feel like it's just Todd kind of like laughing at just the kind of futility of our existence, and just like it's just this cosmic joke that like if you can't laugh at it, if you're not laughing at it, you're just gonna die miserable.
Right.
Like it it's like the only kind of choice that one could have in this bleak, like pain, like just like awful existence is you just gotta laugh. Like that book made me laugh in a way where it's just kind of like just not screaming into the void, but just like laughing into it, which was not the feeling that Scanlines gave me. So yeah.
Also, there's a story about people turning into mannequins. So,
Yeah,
it's worth it for that alone.
like I kind of wish he was here today, but John Langan wrote, he wrote a pretty uh honest and flattering introduction to the collection that I thought, he actually like did the homework and he kind of gets what, where I'm coming from with a lot of that stuff, and it's just the absurdity of existence is, if you can't laugh at it, what can you do? Then you will despair. And yeah, I'm kind of uncomfortable now because I wasn't expecting Clay to jump into all of that.
Yeah, I said to Clay, tell me about yourself. Well, the first time I ran, yeah, but I love it. Yeah.
It's
Thank you.
easier to talk about Todd than it is to talk about me. But that's the fun part. Like
Yeah, I thought it would be fun to have you guys both on at
Yeah.
the same time.
because I mean, in the interim since reading Scanlides, I've met Todd, and you do this circuit. You go out on the road and you're trying to promote your books, and like you do conferences and events and conventions and whatnot. And I've been really fortunate to like bump into Todd, and it's like I don't know, like when you get those feelings of like they're not what like pillars, like you kind of want to like, okay, this is my check-in. This is like this
Yeah.
is who I am today, and it's like I think like last year maybe I bumped into like I want to say like 4 or 5 times. Feels like it was 4 or
We
5. Like,
must have. It was a lot.
yeah,
You did. So there was Horror on Main.
yeah,
There was AuthorCon,
yeah.
StokerCon. We did Halloween Hangover.
So maybe it was that. I mean that you didn't do Scarelastic last
I
year.
didn't do a Scarelastic last year. I'm doing that this year though.
But I mean, like if you kind of like space it out, I mean, that was like, spring, summer,
Mhm.
fall,
Yeah.
winter. And like it's nice because you can kind of like and I think this is what life on the road tends to be for me, where it's like you see people and it's like, when you're like happy to see somebody that you haven't seen for a few months, and like I don't know, like Todd is always like a welcome, like I just feel like whenever I see him, I bump into him at these things, it's just like, oh, I'm centering myself in a way. Uh, if you feel unmoored, Todd will put you in your place, and you're kind of like, okay, now I'm like localized again, or I'm centered.
Yeah.
So I just need to follow you wherever you go, Todd.
You're kind of making me blush, man. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Well, tell us a little bit about yourself then, Todd.
Well, I
Yeah, Todd. God.
so this is kind of funny because we were giving each other a hard time about this prior to the show. I shamefully have not actually read any of Clay's books because I'm a horrible friend. I have Clay's books, not all of them, but I've got Ghost Eaters and What Kind of Mother, and I've got Baby Carrots. Um, I haven't read I've started What Kind of Mother. I'm about 50 pages into it and I'm really digging it. Lots of Old Bay seasoning in that book.
You said something about it at the last con that
Oh, yeah,
he was screaming baby carrots at everyone and had to be restrained.
No, I have a restraining order because he scared me.
Right.
Yeah, he was reading the Baby Carrot story, and that's one of the things that strikes me about Clay is that if you have an opportunity, you have to see him read because it's not a reading, it's a performance. Uh, and what also strikes me that Clay is outwardly a very quiet, approachable, friendly individual. But when he's reading slash performing, he draws from this well of energy that is envious. Like I wish I had the kind of energy that Clay has when he approaches readings and getting people engaged with it. And it's no reason that, in my mind, it's obvious why he is as successful as he is, especially when it comes to events. So meeting Clay, I guess was it the first author con or was it the last Scares That Care? It's got to be the first author con because it was after it was after Scanlines had come out through Ghoulish.
Yeah.
You know, I had seen pictures of him online, of course, and you know, I expected someone a little taller. But I'm a tall guy myself, so everybody in my mind is tall until I meet them. Um, and he was just this very quiet, unassuming dude. And he's got a huge heart, very soft spoken until he's in front of a crowd and then he, you know, blows your hair back. Um,
Well, I don't want to put Clay on the spot, but maybe I can talk him into reading something sometime for us.
oh
Mm.
yeah, like he I can't really tell you, you know, adequately like what it's like to see him read. Like I had, you know, until I met Clay, I thought Bob Ford was probably the best, you know, reader toward an audience. And then Clay comes along, and no offense to Bob, but you know, he kind of kicked Bob off that stage. And if Bob is listening, I love you, Bob. I mean
Don't.
nothing bad by that, but like I would like to see a read off between Bob and Clay. I think that would be pretty fucking amazing.
And Cisco, you're out. You're not even in the running anymore.
Oh man, Cisco. I love Cisco.
Yeah.
I love Cisco's rendition of Werner Herzog.
Oh yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
you should listen to the back episodes of this podcast because I think we had a discussion between Langen's German Godzilla and
Oh God.
Cisco's Werner
Yeah.
Herzog.
Langen put Michael Cisco on the spot, and I've got this on the YouTube channel, and said, just off the cuff, do Werner Herzog when he's at a restaurant and he's upset with his order or something like that. And
Yeah.
he just nailed it.
The
was really
last
funny.
day of StokerCon, we were standing in the lobby, kind of saying our goodbyes to everybody, and Langen and Cisco were together because you know it's kind of like Laurel and Hardy a little bit,
Right.
and they're together. And I asked Cisco to do Herzog one last time, and he was talking about how I can't even do it with the accent because I pale in comparison to his version of Herzog, but it was like, you think this is a horror convention? If this were a true horror convention, we would all die at the end.
Yeah.
You had to
he's
be
good.
there. You had to hear it in Cisco's, you know.
Well, in the show
accent.
notes, I'll include the YouTube link to what we have that
Okay.
I just described. So,
But
is-
back to Clay for a second. I also want to say that he, of the two of us, he has the better beard.
an
I
important
would
quality
take
in a writer.
I would take your hair over my beard any day. You want to trade, please.
Yeah,
I
you've got more color in your beard, and I do not. Like if I want to get your kind of beard, I got to do the just for men thing, and I don't want to do that.
yeah. Um, you said something though that made me like you're talking about energy at readings and whatnot, but like I feel as if you're so dry with your stories, and that kind of transfers over to your delivery when you're reading your pieces out loud. Um, that like I would almost argue that have like for you and your writing anything beyond the kind of what is it, the Darla, like
Daria.
the kind of like sardonic monotone, it would lose a little bit of its edge. um you wouldn't want to kind of like keep anything on that edge, my opinion.
Oh, I could see that, but still, I think what I appreciate most about your readings is just how you can engage the audience. You can, you know, like me and my issues kind of prevent me. There's always going to be this barrier a little bit because I'm, you know, I don't do well with crowds, and so it takes a lot for me to get up in front of people and do that. And you know, you, at least from my, you know, my perspective watching you, you know, you can interact with the crowd. You can, you do your thing when you go to a bookstore or an event and you're hyping everybody up and you're, like, yeah, like we're at Scares That Care. We're at Scares That Care. And you're like running down the hallway and you're getting everybody on your phone and your camera. And like, I envy that. I admire that so much.
If I was a better writer, I wouldn't be doing any of that stuff. Because I feel like you could put any bells and whistles and performance, whatever, on, like heaping any of that onto a faulty foundation. It's like, I don't know. I feel like,
I don't know about that, Clay. Maybe so with an audience, but imagine a great reading on Audible. You're the only person listening to it. The foundation has to be there too, even with a great
Yeah.
narrator.
Like
you're
you
I mean, you're a great writer. So
yeah, very, what I've read of you, absolutely.
me too.
I feel like such an asshole for saying that.
You're onto something, kid. Keep it up. I'm gonna read some more, and I'll get back to you.
I mean,
Next year, I want to hear about chapter 2, Todd.
I'm on
What Kind of
chapter
Mother.
4. Thank you very much.
Oh, okay. Sorry. So, well, Clay, tell us about your Nicholas Sparks book titled "What Kind of Mother," and why is it? Why did I say that? So.
Well, it's funny because like when I pitched What Kind of Mother to my editor, the idea was like, okay, let's start with a Nicholas Sparks novel, start with something that feels like two people meeting cute, like maybe there's a little mystery, maybe there's a little like, it's like it's like a East Coast, Southern coastal Chesapeake Bay kind of like, it's like a briny kind of Old Bay style, like, beach book. And
Right.
it's like, oh, two people, like they've lived their lives and, they've had a lot of heartache and, they meet each other when they're at the end of like,
It's a Lifetime
not
movie.
yeah, exactly. I mean, that's, if we started with a Lifetime movie and then it just kind of incrementally like get like kind of
Yeah.
twists into something else, evolves into something else. It starts off as like a Nicholas Sparks novel. But I will say, I've said this again and again, and I will go on record. I think Nicholas Sparks novels are insane. They are batshit, like just like if you read them, like they're just like grandiose, just like this, like the operatics of them are amazing. I would wholeheartely recommend Safe Haven by Nicholas Sparks. If you have not read it, it's phenomenal. And I will cop to having tried to ape that with What Kind of Mother, like just that idea of like, oh, two people, like
Yeah.
they've had some rough little hiccups along the way, but they've met each other at just the right time. And boy, aren't they good for one another. And aren't they gonna like bring out the best in each other? And then the shit hits the fan.
Nice.
Hey, Largo.
The Vice Grip Titans.
Yeah.
Well, regarding reading Nicholas Sparks, we all love to read horror. That's why we're here, right? But then sometimes you need something lighter as well, and palate cleansers, or you've just read Cold, Black, and Infinite, and you're pretty much have decided that life is pointless, and then you go pick up a Nicholas Sparks book.
Oh, Dostoevsky.
Yeah.
Safe Haven is it's a ghost story. I mean, it's like, it is just so messed up what happens in that book. And it's just because it's under the patina of a Nicholas Sparks. It's the Nicholas Sparks vibe that like I love the idea that you could be kind of like a wolf in sheep's clothing where it's like, oh no, I'm just a Nicholas Sparks novel. It's like I'm safe. Like it's like this is going to be
Yeah.
so cute and adorable. And now that the book has been out for a few months, I'm learning in real time that like that makes people really mad. Where people like, I've learned the hard way that when you promise a Nicholas Sparks novel, and you incrementally give them something else, that there's a bit of a resistance to that. Like, people don't necessarily like to walk into a trap of a book. And yeah, so like a lot of my Goodreads reviews are like, well, I like the first half, and then
Do
to
they
hell.
not know you're a horror writer?
You were being very kind about the cover. The book posits itself as this like, ooh, this like intriguey mystery, like, what is this? Like, ooh, beach vibes.
Yeah.
And then it just basically like rips that, like, it's just like,
I think
So-
that's great.
Maybe
And I'll bet a lot of horror readers would agree. And if you're generating discussion, if people are emotional in whatever way about a book, that's not a bad thing either. I also want to say before you continue, Todd, that I wasn't shitting on your book about the life is pointless thing.
oh no,
That was a compliment. So
no, I was totally following you with that, man.
you're like already there, dude. Already
I
there.
mean, for the listeners who may not know, I am also a graphic designer. And so when I look at this cover, like that doesn't scream Nicholas Sparks. It doesn't scream, oh, cozy, cozy love story. It's the font choice, and it's also the mise en scène that's going on behind it.
It
That
screams
that
Thomas Ligotti.
screams thriller and horror. It's serious. It's like it's not curly. It's not serifed all to hell. It's like, what kind of mother? Not what kind of mother.
What'd you say, Pete?
That cover screams Thomas Ligotti.
Mm.
Wow, that's amazing.
It just-
Yeah, but it's just funny, like the pact that a reader makes with any book. You go in with a certain kind of level of set expectation, and I think we should be so lucky if any book kind of defies your expectations. Like you want,
Yeah.
I feel like if something kind of surpasses what you expect the book to deliver, then you're just like, you're in uncharted territory. And I love that feeling.
Yeah, like my favorite kind of cosmic horror story or book is a book I'm just reading and I have no idea it's going to turn into cosmic horror.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I think that's so rare. It's so rare to feel like you don't know. Like I think that like whether you admit it or not, a lot of readers want to know what they're getting themselves into before they
Yeah.
begin, whether that's the synopsis or reading other reviews of it. Like you kind of want to like enter into it being like, I know what this is. So then like if something, I'm trying to think of like a recent example. I just read Small Town Horror by Ronald
Malfi.
Malfi.
Oh, I want to read
Yeah.
that so bad.
Jesus Christ. Like it's like you just never like he's just walking this fine line where it's like it could just go here or it could go there. And like it's just the razor's edge of it where you just don't know if it's true crime or supernatural. Maybe it's real, maybe it's not real. And it's
Kind of
just,
like the John Connolly Charlie Parker series does that too. Yeah. Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt.
no,
Oh,
but
I did.
but no, but like having those books where you just say to yourself, like, if you feel like you're in deft hands, like an author that really knows what they're doing, you just go for the ride.
Right.
But that's like a trust issue thing, right? Like people are like, no, I don't want to like let go. I don't want to close my eyes. I want to know where I'm going. I want to know where you're taking me.
Yeah.
part of me, based on this part of the conversation, a part of me wants there to be a Nicholas Sparks novel in the future that has the Nicholas Sparks trappings as the candy coated shell, and in the center is a gooey extreme horror core, you know. That would be hilarious to me.
Yeah.
Well, what kind of mother
If you'd
doesn't,
read
right?
it, Todd, you
God,
would know.
Todd. That Todd guy's such an asshole.
You know what? I don't think so. 'Cause I know how large my TBR is,
All the books
and
behind me, those date back to like 2016 when I first started doing cons and stuff.
mhm.
Yeah. Like, I'll just be reading for the rest of my life, which is great. I'd planned on it anyway. But,
This is
I'll
why
never.
I'll sit down and I'll watch shows like Night Country, for example,
Mhm.
things like that, and I will sit down. A friend and I talked about this recently, and rewatch shows like Buffy and Angel and Supernatural. What we both said is these are kind of comfort food shows, if you like that sort of thing. But I can't do all of that too much, because I always think, I look over at my shelves and I look at my Kindle and I think, dude, you have a lot of books to read and you really prefer to read than watch TV. So you got to stop at some point. So, but that's me. Todd, tell us about and Clay, if you want to, Cold, Black, and Infinite. And by the way, folks, at least as of today, and it doesn't look like it's one-day sale or anything. I guess you guys would know, but What Kind of Mother is only $2.99 on Kindle right now. That's amazing. And
Yeah.
Cold, Black, and Infinite, and as always, I'll have the links. Cold, Black, and in the show notes. Cold, Black, and Infinite, Stories of the Horrific and Strange, is only $4.99. So for less than what, $8 or $9, you guys can,
Yeah.
if you're Kindle people, you can own these books and read them.
And you should read Clay's book first to make up for the fact that I'm a terrible friend.
But then if you want to
No
laugh,
judgments. If you want to what?
then you can read Cold, Dark, and Infinite. Cold, Black, and Infinite.
Cold, Black, and Infinite.
Black and Infinite. Oh, I'm sorry. I read Cold, Dark, and Infinite. Is that not your collection? Oh, shoot.
Did
was
I say
talking
dark
about
too?
a whole other...
No, you said Cold, Black, and Infinite. What's funny is that originally, when the editor at Cemetery Dance set up the title, he put it in as Cold, Dark, and Infinite. And I'm like, nope, that's not right. Sorry. Try again.
Well, one of the neat things is, besides the foreword by John Langan. By the way, when you said you wish John was here, I sent him a text message and I said, Todd just said he wishes you were here. I hope you feel guilty. So
Good. Good.
yeah. Damn.
He actually was invited onto the show, but said he wouldn't.
He's
realize
like,
that Todd was...
Kiesling's gonna be on it this week. Fuck that.
Yeah. But anyway,
So
a great forward by John. And then the other thing I was going to say is, if you look at the table of contents, I don't know if anybody can read it, but it's actually, this is kind of neat. The short stories are structured under Cold. There's 5 stories. Black, there's 6 stories, and then Infinite, there's what, 6 or 7 stories. And there's also story notes. So anyway, yeah, Todd, you were saying?
yeah, Cold, Black, and Infinite is a collection of horror fiction that comprises like the last 5 years of my life. When I wrote about it to my patrons on my Patreon a little over a year ago. They helped me pick the title and everything, because I had a list of like 10 different titles to call it, and like some of them were really stupid and some of them, were strong contenders. But I wanted something to kind of cap off another like era of my writing career. Like my first collection, Ugly Little Things, kind of, I felt like it was me as a younger writer, kind of finding his voice, getting a foothold. And Cold Black and Infinite was more representative of who I am as a writer now versus, in addition to where I'm going. And I approached it like a greatest hits album. And to that end, I mean, I'm a huge Nine Inch Nails fan. Cold Black and Infinite is from a Nine Inch Nails song. But it also represented different phases to me. It's kind of like you start out feeling one way, and you end feeling a different way. So I've interpreted it a number of different ways. The as like stages of the night. Cold gets full dark, and then you got the infinite sea of stars above you.
Right.
But really, it was just a good title. And it just so happened that the stories worked in in that context. You know, cold stories that can be interpreted a different number of ways. The black, those stories are pretty damn dark. Infinite, they're more cosmic in nature. Uh, and yeah, I mean that's Cold Black and Infinite in a nutshell. There's a little bit of everything. It's kind of like I said, it's a greatest hits compilation in my mind, and it also caps off the second era of my writing career. So, it's kind of a snapshot of where I was, over the last 5 years, and a promise of where I'm going.
Clay, do you want to say anything else about it? And then also maybe give the um, readers a spoiler-free synopsis after that of What Kind of Mother?
Sure, sure. I mean, I actually had a question for Todd. I'm curious.
Sure.
Did any stories of this era not make the cut because they weren't thematically on point?
Not that they were thematically on point, they just didn't make the cut because I didn't like them very much.
Uh-huh.
There were a couple. They're just trunk stories that'll never see the light of day.
Yeah.
But the stories that are there were, most of them have been previously published, with the exception of, three. And, those I put in because I was kind of partial to them. And I felt like they were a good fit.
It is amazing to think that like it that it like incrementally kind of intensifies with, you start with the cold, then you go to the black, and then you go to the cosmic. And I'm looking at I was like, could I pick a favorite? And I do feel like you hit the ground running with Midnight in the Southland. I've heard you read the Happy Town Yuletide Massacre, which I think is a crowd favorite.
Yeah.
But I think for my money, oddly, it's either going to be Tommy the Destructobot versus the Bullies from Future Street, or Annie's Heart is a Haunted House. As like the ones that like
Great
really,
title.
Thank you.
yeah, right.
Yeah. I thank you for saying so. Midnight in the Southland seems to be the universal favorite among readers.
Why? Is it just why?
I think it's the voice. I think it's the type of story. It ties in with the whole Devil's Creek, Southland mythos. Um, and it's just, I think everybody's been there. Everybody's felt that way at some point,
Yeah.
and it just, like, I didn't set out to write it, knowing that or feeling that. It was just, I needed to write about a liminal space, and I'd just gone across the Valley View Ferry in Kentucky, and I was thinking about Art Bell at the time. So that's how that came about.
Speaking of liminal spaces, we're going to talk about that in hour 2 as well.
Nice.
There's some news on that front.
you know, Happy Town is Happy Town. I love reading that story because it's got a good punch, you know, to end it on. But Tommy the Destructobot is interesting that you mentioned that, because that I wrote that as part of a challenge to Mercedes Yardley. She and I had this kind of faux argument, and we said we were going to kill each other in our stories. And I didn't end up killing her in a story, but I put her in a story. In her story featuring me, I'm already dead off. I'm dead off screen. I'm dead at the very beginning, which I think is funny. But it kind of morphed into this, you know, the story about this kid who's pushed too far, and you know, he has an opportunity to make something out of his, you know, his deficiencies physically, and he, you know, the cost of that, like how far are you willing to go to, you know, get revenge, that sort of thing. And it just morphed into this violent, bloody story, and very much a Frankenstein's monster kind of tale. Annie's Heart is a haunted house.
You know, can I just say real
Sure.
quick before you go on? When I first saw that title, I immediately thought of Gwendolyn Keist. You know, just based on the title
Really?
alone. Yeah, because it's just like,
Thank
man,
you.
that's a Gwendolyn Keist kind of title.
That's a huge compliment. Thank you. I love Gwendolyn's work.
Yeah.
I was wondering, would you mind, let's just say, for example, I'm not too familiar with your work. You say this is the end of an epoch or a phase in your writing. What do you mean by that?
I mean, it's
Have you changed something, or is something new coming up?
I've grown as a writer. I'm kind of moving toward longer form work. I don't plan on writing very much short fiction in the immediate future, because I'm working on where my agent's shopping my next novel, and I'm working on the one after that, and that's my focus right now. The next collection will probably come much, much later in my career, rather than like a 5-year, you know, time span.
Right.
So, you know, to me, as looking on it, reflecting on it, it kind of represented like a sign of growth. And so now I'm ready to move on, I guess.
Clay, will you talk about, will you give us a spoiler-free synopsis of What Kind of Mother?
Yeah, totally. Okay, What Kind of Mother is about a single mom named Maddie who is struggling to make ends meet while she's she's moved back to her, you know, Chesapeake Bay hometown. Single mom, she's raised her daughter her whole life, but now dad, the daughter's biological father is kind of coming back into the picture, and her daughter Kendra wants to kind of explore what life with her father would be like. But Maddie is making ends meet by kind of reading palms, and you know, doing the kind of you know, that those storefront palm readers, the storefront psychics, where maybe they can intuit things, maybe they're real, but probably they're not. You know, like I think yeah, she isn't she's a palm reader, but she isn't a palm reader. And but she comes back to her hometown. She's reading people's palms for, you know, for a living. And she reunites, bumps into uh, an old high school flame by the name of Henry. And Henry's had some really, really hard times. His son went missing 5 years ago, and he's been kind of forever trapped in this kind of loophole of you know, that cycle of grief, of just not being able to kind of let go and move on. And the two of them come together, and maybe Maddie sees something that is or isn't real, isn't a, you know, she has some sort of kind of like supernatural psychic epiphany. And yeah, it's yeah, it strange things begin to happen as soon as they take each other's hands and she reads his poem.
Well, you've talked a little bit about the genesis of the book, that you wanted to do a Nicholas Sparks, basically horror novel that twists
Yeah.
into a horror novel. Um, do you want to talk just real briefly about a real world experience that you had? You said you wrote about it in an interview, so I assume it's okay to ask you this.
Yeah.
About your son missing for like 20 minutes and how hard that was, which I have a similar story. I know exactly what you mean.
It was awful. It was the most terrifying feeling ever. It's crazy because like there's a lot there, but like my youngest son is we're discovering him and his kind of developmental, he's we're at a place where we're trying to understand him and find a place for him in this world, and it's really hard. It's really hard. So every day is kind of a little bit of an uphill battle for him, and we're just trying to make it as easy as humanly possible and just be there for him. And in a lot of ways, this book is me writing about my personal kind of foibles, failures as a parent, trying to raise someone who has special needs, who needs a little bit more. And just that idea of like you want to make all the right decisions, you want to do best for your kids, but you're still gonna fuck them up. You're still like just gonna like run them into the ground, and you won't even know what you did to them until years later when they're like, "Do you remember that thing you said to me when I was 6 years old?" And and I'll be like, "Oh." So this is my I'm a fuck up of a father book. Um, but what you mentioned, like I was revising it. I was on like the second or third draft of the book, and my parents, my family, I still have family in Virginia and I was writing. They live where this book essentially takes place, and
Right.
we're like there on the waterfront, and my family is visiting, their grandparents, they're having grandparent time, which is great because that means writing time, free childcare time. And then all of a sudden everyone's like, "Hey, has anyone seen Cormac? Like, does anybody know where Cormac is?" And I swear to God, I'm Jesus Christ, like I'm feeling it right now. Like it's just
The
like
worst feeling in the world.
it's the worst feeling. It is the worst feeling, particularly when you're close to water. Because like my immediate response was like, "Oh my God." Like there were a good 20 minutes where we just could not find him to save our lives. And like, I went to the creek, I went to the river, I went to any body of water, and like in my mind, I am imagining the worst thing I could possibly imagine, which is the body of my son floating under the water and just being terrified. Like, just please don't make it real. Please don't make it happen.
Right.
And it turns out he was just taking a nap, under a blanket in his he was just in his bed, totally crashed out and had no idea that like the rest of us are just like and like running to all the other places, and it was just like under a blanket. Like the blanket was like we looked at that bed I don't know how many times, and it's like he's not in the bed, the blanket is flat. And it's just like, huh, and it like, for the first, like after we knew he was okay, it was just like, oh, like
Yeah.
the exhale, and then like the first inhale was just like, why didn't you answer? Like, like, where were you? Like, didn't you hear us screaming your name? And it's just that like that switch of just like utter panic that like flips to like utter frustration and rage. And it's like, I'm glad that you're still alive, god damn it. Like, why are you? Yeah, that
But
was, it was like, okay, now I got to go back and write this book about crab monsters.
whether the kid is under a blanket or, hiding in a tree or whatever, that doesn't change the fact that those horrible feelings were real, and all the imagining the darkest thing that might happen was real.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it you know, I've been doing this a lot, and I need to stop because you know, I'm just going back to this well, but like, you know, for the last few books, I'm always just trying to antagonize myself to put a little more skin in the game, like make it count on some level. And you know, it's fine and dandy to try to scare people, but the things that I'm choosing to write about are the things that scare me now. And for just sheer design of where I am in life, the things that scare me the most are parenthood and kids, and like, you know, being someone who has to be now responsible for another living thing, and doing an awful job at it. Like I like, you know, it's so like for me, like I'm just constantly casting my kids in these like horrifying scenarios, these like personal like horror movies where every day I kiss them goodbye and they go to school, and it's like what could happen today to them? Like what is the like the like most awful thing, you know? And the world is providing so much fear right now that like it is it's very easy to write about these things. And I feel like karmically I'm really kind of teeing myself up to get like screwed royally by the cold black and infinite, where like someone's gonna say like you've done this too much now. Now the shit's gonna really hit the fan. And yeah, I just pray that doesn't happen.
I mean, that's the tightrope we walk as creators, I think, and the authenticity that you bring to your story is what makes it so effective for everybody else. You know, without that, then it's just a, then it's just a scary story about crabs.
Yeah.
Also, there were crabs in that book. Spoilers, dude. Come on.
I mean, it's Chesapeake Bay. There's like crab, like, there's like crabs on
Right.
like page 2. It's just crabs everywhere. Crabs.
So, for question for both of you guys, what does success as a writer mean to you? What does success as a person mean to you guys? You know, like what makes you think, you know, I'm a writer, I'm doing this, and I think I'm doing all right. I'm kind of proud of myself. What makes you feel that way, or what do you think would if you're not there yet in your mind?
You know, for the longest time, I thought that success as a writer meant being able to do it full time. But I've been doing it full time for this will be year number 4. Uh, the only reason I'm able to do it full time is because of my wife. You know, we have insurance through her. You know, she's the breadwinner essentially. So in that respect, no, I don't feel successful at all. Success for me, like right now, my target is, and it's been this way for a while actually, is just being able to do this full time and be comfortable. You know, being able to do this full time and not have to worry about not have to worry about a leak in my roof, which is what we're dealing with right now. Not have to worry about, oh, groceries were, $100 more this month than they were last month, and how's that going to affect our budget and everything. And to me, success in my mind as a professional writer is being able to just shrug it off, roll with it, and it be fine. It's not going to damage us a month from now when suddenly we need money for something else, or like the car breaks down, knock wood, or something to that effect, some emergency.
Right.
Some emergency isn't going to bankrupt us. It's when I was a kid, success to me was I want to be like Stephen King and have millions of dollars, and no, I just want to be comfortable. I just want to be comfortable and do what I love to do without fear of, where's the food going to come from? Who's going to pay the electric bill this month? Stuff like that. Um, that's to me like what I'm looking at professionally. Personally, I just want to be comfortable and happy.
Do you think you are most of the time, or at least growing towards that, or how do you
Yeah.
feel about it?
I mean, I feel fulfilled artistically, which is always
That's huge.
that's a big one. I feel like I'm at a point right now as an artist generally that I feel I'm in a good place with what I'm working on and my skill and my confidence, which wasn't always the case. I mean, mentally, I deal with mental health issues all day, every day. So it's has its ups and downs, but I mean, I'm medicated and it helps, and I take each day a day at a time.
What about you, Clay? Success as a writer and as a person, what does it look like to you?
I mean, it is amazing how it's like they are two different things, right? Like success as like a human being, and success as maybe the outside looking in. And it just sucks that it always boils down to money.
Yeah.
And it's just like, you know, I think like the kind of the thing as a like a professional is that idea that like if I think success will ultimately be if I can tell the stories that I want to tell and support my family doing it. That is the level of success that I strive and, hope for. Um, and, whether, as a adult, or as a kid growing up, like, that kind of the Stephen King of it all, where you're like, these are the people, like, here are the people that like are doing it, and I think like nowadays it's like I just want to grow up to be a Paul Tremblay or a, a Stephen Graham Jones, like that to me feels like a goal, like they're like I put them on this pedestal, an Alma Katsu or a Catriona Ward, and like people who I admire and like read their stuff, and I'm just constantly blown away by it. And I feel like, I'm sure they would say otherwise, but it just seems like they're making all the right decisions. Like I want to grow up to be Josh Mallerman, or I want to grow up to be,
Same.
yeah. And like as a human being, you know, to kind of coattail off of Todd, like it's just like happiness is just like huge. Like I would kill to be happy. I feel like the kind of most miserable thing about being a writer is that you're stuck with yourself every day, and you're just like, here, like this is my existence, and this is where I have to be happy with myself. And it's like the one place I'm not happy with myself. And like that is the like constant kind of, but the adverse, the flip side of that is that like I if I was happy with myself, I think I wouldn't trust it. I think it's those moments where it's just like, haha, like I'm content. Then I would there's like a friction or a tension that's missing, and that would undermine the work itself. That like and I feel like
Yeah.
this is an antiquated, outmoded way of thinking, but like I need my own kind of sense of unhappiness to like to provide fodder for the stories that I want to tell, which is an awful way to live and makes me not a great person to live with, but that's why I stay in this room by myself all day.
I totally relate to that.
Yeah.
It's
So
almost like we need some kind of discontent in order to do what we do. Because if you're truly, truly happy with everything, then nothing's bad. Not there's no, there's no catalyst, you
Yeah.
know.
But I feel like we've entered an era where the conversation is kind of pivoting away from that, where it's like, no, you should be happy. You can be happy. Like you deserve to be a happy person. Like happiness doesn't have to be on the chopping block to still be a creative person. And I think that's where the idea of I mean, like I'm trying to think of the things that are going to make me a better person, like a better human being.
And I think that one of the things that I've learned that, and hopefully this will help somebody out there, is that I've learned that happiness should not be some goal that you're striving for. And, one day I'm going to reach it and, I'll be happy. Instead, I look at it as I'm growing towards it more every day. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And even in that growth, there's going to be super, super bad days and also super, super good days. So, yeah, Pete.
I'm gonna go the complete opposite direction.
Okay.
When I'm introduced to new people in my office, I welcome them to my hell. And they're like, what? This is like, okay, so let me explain. This is my philosophy. I am dead. This is hell. This is my personal hell. You don't exist. You're only here to either make me feel awful or to make things a little better so that they can become more awful in the future.
Wow.
Because if you constantly hurt somebody, then they get used to it. So you have to give them something nice to respond to, and then you stab them in the heart.
Oh my God. Yeah,
Okay.
he says all this, but then he calls me the other night and he's all worried about me because I'm missing you guys and I'm missing Joe and missing Willem, and yet he calls and checks up on me. So I don't know if I believe this crap.
Peter, I have to ask, do you work in an office?
I work in a government office.
Oh God.
That
okay.
explains it.
There you go. When I left my last corporate job, I mean it sucked, don't get me wrong. And financially we're much worse off, but I'm so much healthier mentally because I'm no longer being poisoned by a toxic fucking cloud every single day.
Yeah, absolutely. And there are plenty of jobs where, my wife's a great example as a school teacher that people go to and feel fulfilled,
Mhm.
But there's also jobs that I've had plenty of them that it's just like time is moving backwards. 5 o'clock is never going to get there. And then you go home and you're exhausted and you think, I don't want to go to bed because I have to get up and do that again.
Yeah.
So, anyway, Cold, Black, and Infinite is $4.99 on Kindle. It's also available in print. And it's available? No, I'm looking at what kind of mother. Yeah. So print, hardcover, paperback.
Audio is in the works currently.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
that's
coming.
great. I'll spend the credit on that one.
And if anybody listened to the performance of Midnight in the Southland that was on Pseudopod a month or so ago, the guy who narrated that is also narrating the entire thing.
Wow.
What's his name? Do you remember?
Dave Robeson.
Midnight in the Southland on Pseudopod.
So Mike,
Yeah.
I just want to say this conversation kind of reminded me of something I heard Chris Rock say once. He said, it's the difference between a job and a career. And he says, in a career, there are not enough hours in the day. In a job, time moves at a glacial, drip of melting ice. Look at the clock. You've been here for 3 hours. You look up, it's only 8:15.
Right.
But in a career, there are not enough hours in the day.
Right. So yeah, pick up Cold Black and Infinite, guys. What Kind of Mother is only $2.99 on Kindle, available in hardcover, paperback, and it is currently on Audible. So pick it up. I really appreciate you guys being here, especially at the same time. I thought it would be a nice energy and synergy and conversation.
I love Todd. You
I
know,
love
like,
Clay.
he doesn't need to read my stuff for me to love him. Like every chance I get to see him it's a good day.
Aw, thanks, buddy.
Hmm.
Well, you
I
have to
do
listen
need
to my.
I do need to read your work though, and I am.
But what happens? What happens if you read it and you're like, and the next time we see each other, you're like,
Well,
hey,
no, because he's heard your stories because you've read them at cons.
Yeah, so like every time I turn the page, it's like you're screaming at me. Like,
Well, if you think about it, Todd, you've actually read more of his work than you think. You had it read to you.
it's true. That's very true.
if you want, I will come to your house and read.
Guilt. Listen.
You are welcome anytime, my friend.
Do a little bedtime story.
Okay.
So
I'm
we
gonna
got
go curl up in bed right now. You can drive on down here.
I know
we
I don't know if we're cutting it short, but
no,
has
you're fine.
Tom mentioned that he's like on the long list for the Stokers. Like that's an awesome thing, man.
No, I hadn't mentioned
Oh, that's
that.
good.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
We have a few more things to talk about. I don't know, maybe 20 more minutes. You guys want to stick around or do you need to go?
I'm good.
Okay. All right. First thing, I put on the Lovecraft Using Facebook page, not the group. Well, I did both. But someone wrote, I said, what are your night country theories and so forth? And what did you catch? And of course, a lot of us caught The Thing VHS or whatever it was on the shelf and a couple other things. But someone commented, didn't anyone spot the name on the hockey scoreboard was the silver key?
Yeah.
Totally missed it.
I missed
y-
it.
Yeah, that's a good one. The ghost that leads the woman
Yeah.
to the bodies. Its
Right.
last name is Cole
Yeah, that's
from
I
the
think
first series.
I saw someone
Rust's father.
online say that it's Rust's dad
Yeah,
because his
that's what it's
dad
supposed to
died
be.
of cancer, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
I
it
didn't
probably
put that
is.
together until I read about that. So many connections in the first season.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then we go back to Rust Cole, and those are both decay processes. Products of decay. So
And Who Funds to Saul is also another callback.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever the family was for, it's been so long since I've seen it, but they are partially funding it. So, yeah.
Well, the creator of the show originally 10 years ago aside, I did enjoy, and his shit he pulled, but I did enjoy the story, very much. I was disappointed with the ending. When it
A
all,
lot of people are disappointed
Yeah.
with that ending.
yeah. And I say all that to say this, not to shit on Pizzolatto, but this Night Country seems like, at least having watched 2 episodes, that it's not going to do that, that it is going to be a paranormal. I mean, we've already seen a ghost, right? Unless she's imagining it, but
if she's not imagining it, then there's more things that we have to
right.
explain.
How'd she get out there if she's
Right.
not? I mean, if she is.
Right.
So
I think we watched the second episode, and I think one of the interesting thing that they've done here is that it's set after night falls in the Arctic Circle,
yeah, I love that.
right? So the kids are at school, but it's dark out. You guys are going to work, but it's not. Because there's no night and day. time is confusing.
It's a flat circle.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
see what you
but-
did there.
Yeah. It all goes around, right?
But yeah, I mean, you remember the movie Insomnia?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Same issue.
Yeah. And but flipped. It was daytime, if I remember correctly.
Right.
Yeah, it
Right.
was.
That and they couldn't sleep.
Yeah, and Al Pacino is like, why aren't the kids at school? And she's like, because it's the middle of the night.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a fun
Technically.
play on making time confusing. And I won't be surprised if that comes into serious play in the narrative.
Right away, we've got the comment from one of the guys at the Arctic station. She's awake, which I was like, yeah, this is going to be good. And I don't know, none of this is really, I mean, these are very minor spoilers if you haven't seen the first 2 episodes. But
Somebody repeat that second episode, right? Towards the end.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do.
So
Yeah, that's true.
Meanwhile,
Here's
on-
another
on-
quote I like. What? Sorry.
but meanwhile, on the aside, Christopher Eccleston looks awful.
I thought that was him too.
It
Is
is.
that him or is it
That's
somebody else?
him.
Oh, it's
That's
him.
Which character is he playing? Because I didn't recognize him.
He's the state guy who
Superior.
tries to take over the investigation.
Holy crap!
Yeah.
Oh my god! Doctor
I-
Who, what did you do?
Clarice. He did Clarice.
Oh.
Ouch.
I forgot about that.
You're
Well, you know,
welcome.
what can I
That's
say?
in your head now.
Look, I only agree with this because I look in the mirror every day, so we all get old. So here's a quote I liked. I think the world is getting old, and Ennis is where the fabric of all things is coming apart at the seams.
I liked that too.
And the other quote from the same lady about the spiral, speaking to the other police officer. It's old, Missy, older than Ennis. It's older than the ice, probably.
And
Yeah.
is it coincidence that if you read Ennis backwards, it's sin?
Yes, that's a coincidence. Anyway, what I noticed 2 things, and you aren't going to like either of them. First of all,
Yeah, look,
Isn't that-
this is going to be an old man shaking his fist at the
no,
clouds
isn't
saying,
that lady played by Aunt Petunia?
Yes, she is.
So I keep expecting her to pull Harry from under the cupboard or something.
I don't know who that is.
From Harry Potter. She's Harry's aunt that raised him.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
So
Wow.
when I first see her, I think Aunt Petunia. Anyway, so the second thing is, as much as I like all these trappings, they are spending an awful lot of time on family drama shit that is not moving the story along. I mean, I know that that's always been a thing with True Detective, but it's like really packed in this time. I really wish they'd get back to just focusing on the mystery. They had that whole scene where that one guy in the ice pack was alive and now is in the ICU. They barely mentioned it. I mean, come on, that would be a lot more interesting to dwell on than like a grocery shopping trip.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we'll see where it goes,
Yeah. I mean, we're
Yeah,
still in
I
the
mean, I'm gonna
exposition
finish it, but-
phase.
Uh,
Less,
here's a bloody,
Go ahead.
disgusting. What, Mike? Go ahead.
I just want to mention it's 6 episodes for this season, where it's been like 8 before or something like that too.
Yeah.
And I think that wasn't a conscious decision by the showrunner. They needed less time instead of more to tell the
It
story.
was, I think it was the director or whoever was the main creative force behind this series
Yeah.
wanted fewer episodes, which suggests to me is, okay, don't spend as much time on drama. You got less time to get the mystery solved.
Here's an article from Bloody Disgusting, 6 Arctic thrillers to watch if you're enjoying True Detective Night Country. Number 6, The Last Winter. So right away when I read this article, I agreed. The Last Winter is really, really
Ron
good.
Perlman, yeah.
Yeah, what it lacks in special effects and videography, it makes up with first in story.
Yeah.
It makes up with having Ron Perlman.
Larry Fessenden. He's great. Writer director.
Number 5, 30 Days of Night. I mean, it's okay.
I
Number
don't think I've
4,
seen it.
The Thing from Another World, 51.
Yeah.
Number 3, I haven't seen this. Arctic with Mads Mikkelsen.
I haven't seen it, but I know what you're talking about.
I haven't seen this one
I think it's
either. The Gray.
Oh, the gray.
with
is- yeah.
Liam Neeson.
Liam
Yeah,
Neeson,
I'm a little
yeah.
burnt on Liam Neeson. Burnt out on Liam Neeson, I mean, but. And number 1, they mentioned the original Insomnia in 1997 with Stellan Skarsgård. I haven't seen that. Has anybody here seen both versions?
I didn't know there was another version.
Yeah, you have, Clay?
Yeah. Good.
Which one's better, or is it apples and oranges?
The Sarsgaard one is better for sure.
All right.
Yeah. No knock to Nolan, but you know, it's just a tighter, better film.
You know, another thing is that part of this is a very small part, but they are trying to emphasize the issue of disappearing Native women in Alaska, which has been an issue. Like a lot of them vanish and they're never found. And
Yeah.
if you want a story about that set in Alaska, try Alaska Daily. It was like an 8-episode series. Really pretty good. It's not supernatural at all, but there's a mystery involved.
Danielle and I really enjoyed it, but it ends on a cliffhanger, and I don't know if it's coming back.
I think it is, but you know, it all depends on the stars.
Yeah. Bridget, what are you enjoying that country so
I
far?
don't think astrology
Yeah.
has anything to do with it.
Yeah,
I have
okay.
kind of a maybe a contradictory opinion, but I think probably what's going to happen is it's going to end very vaguely. So I think there's going to be a non-supernatural solution, but I don't think that it's going to be satisfying. I think there's going to be questions that there are still supernatural elements that could be influencing. I think it's going to end vaguely. That's my
So like a
Like
Paul Tremblay ambiguity type thing.
Yes, that's what I think.
I absolutely agree with you.
I wouldn't be unhappy with that if it's done right.
It's like I think there's going to be a mundane explanation, but it's not really going to be satisfactory. I think it's going to be a scapegoat explanation.
Oh, that's a really interesting theory. I like
It's
it.
all ergot. They all been poisoned by bad food.
No, I've got it. It was all a dream.
No, that is the worst.
It is. Yeah, okay, so I thought I had the willpower to wait until all 6 episodes were out and then binge it.
Not with everybody
No.
talking
No,
about
I
it in the
can't.
chat like every week.
Yeah, okay, it's not my willpower. It's it's my job to watch this show on Sunday nights because we're gonna talk about it on the following Sunday. So I have to do this.
I might have to listen to the official podcast too as it goes along.
Oh,
just
that's
to
right.
see
There's a
what other thoughts.
right.
are being
Thank you for
thrown out
saying that because
I'm
it
curious.
gives the information at the end of each episode.
Has anyone on this heard of a TV series, a limited TV series called Fortitude? Has that been mentioned
Sure.
at all?
Eccleston was in that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it was on Prime, right?
yeah. I'm surprised that hasn't gotten any kind of crossover.
It was the title I was trying to think about a few minutes ago when you guys were talking about Christopher Eccleston. You know, I knew he was in another similar Arctic thing, but I couldn't remember the name. Fortitude, I seem to remember as being pretty good, Clay.
The first season was phenomenal. And it turns out to be biological, you know, little thingies. Not to
Yeah.
give anything away. No spoilers.
Too late.
Too late.
Too late.
Blood Glacier.
Blood Glacier. I remember that one.
I don't. Blood Glacier.
Blood
What
Glacier.
was there was about 2016, a series came out about a CDC team that had to go to the Arctic Circle because of a failure of biological containment.
Yes,
Uh,
and they finished a season, didn't wrap anything up, and it's dead.
Yeah.
Helix or something? Was that
Helix.
it?
Helix. Yes.
yeah, that's kind of a similar idea of the Arctic Circle scientific place.
I remember during COVID, I watched something that I think was set in Greenland about a woman who's been missing for like 10 years. She comes back like on the ice.
Oh yes, I've heard of that too.
And then there are like meat wasps that are spreading a virus.
And then, of course, before we get off this, there's the whole Nordic noir subgenre.
Oh yeah.
And I love it. You know, books, TV, movies. So people should Google that if you're enjoying Night Country as well. So,
Joe Nesbo,
yeah,
and then all the Girl with books. You know, they kind of think that that the Girl with books, this whatever his name was,
Stieg Larsson.
Steve. Yes, yeah.
Stieg
thank you.
Larsson. Stieg.
Yeah, Stieg Larsson. Yes, you know that was the breakthrough book, but it's actually been around for a long time. And
yeah,
there's some really great authors in there, which is
Yeah,
funny
it
because
has.
he couldn't get any of those books published while he was alive.
Well, I've been rereading the Charlie Parker series. I finished The Lovers, which I think was book number 8 the other day, and struck once again about how scary John Connolly can make things feel. And I really, if you like crime fiction mixed with, you know, a touch and sometimes a little bit more of a touch of horror, and you haven't read Charlie Parker, you really should do it. And now's a great time because I think almost every one of those books are on Kindle Unlimited at the moment. So that's the first thing about John Connolly. Second thing is, thanks for the signed Connolly books, Pete. I really appreciate it. Third thing is, Pete recommended to me 2 other John Connolly books that I don't think I'd even heard of. You want to talk about those 2 when you're done pacing?
I was getting the books.
Okay, I know.
The first one is a very, very long essay about the movie Horror Express.
Yeah.
And about why he feels it's an important movie.
Hold that up
And-
again.
It's important because it's got Telly Savalas in it.
Hold that up again, Pete. I believe it's only available in print, and there's not a lot of them left, from what I can
Yeah.
see. So
Am I grainy on your end? I'm grainy on my end.
that's okay. You look wonderful. You don't look old at all.
Anyway, to long story short, Horror Express, which is, you know, generally acknowledged to be an early adaptation of John W. Campbell's Who
Goes there?
Goes There. Thank you. He watches it with his father, and it becomes a touch point in his life. And he goes through the history of the movie, and you know, it's a English, I think Italian or Spanish. It's Spanish. It's an English-Spanish collaboration, and this is John Connolly's reminiscence of it. And it's really, really fun. So anyway,
And the other book is really, really interesting, called Shadow Voices.
The other book
alerted
is
me to this.
Shadow Voices.
This is available on Kindle as well.
This is 300 Years of Irish Genre Fiction, A History in Stories. So the first story is from 1729 by Jonathan Swift, and it's A Modest Proposal.
That's a good one.
And then it basically goes through 300 years of Irish genre fiction, and that's fantasy, science fiction, horror. It includes works by Caitlin Kiernan, John Connolly, of course, Mara McHugh, and some people I've never heard of, but likely because they never made it out of Ireland. And, but there's Lord Dunsany stories. It's a really interesting retrospect on the Irish voice.
You told me about it the other day, and I thought, how do I not know these two books exist? So thank you.
Yeah, and I think it's a really, really interesting book. We always think of, English history of literature. Well, here is a great history of Irish literature.
Yeah, pick it up.
And John
Next,
Connolly did not pay me to say that.
let me know what he says about later this year, okay?
Okay.
Next, we have Bridget Brynmark, who's going to talk about liminal spaces.
Liminal spaces.
Yeah, liminal spaces, man.
What the hell does liminal mean?
Yeah, so well, the genesis for this conversation is the backrooms and the fact that A24 is coming out with a movie about the backrooms. So if you're not familiar with the backrooms, it's a creepypasta that came out 2019, and it was just post a creepy place, and somebody posted this creepy picture of an office space basically that was kind of yellow, kind of faded out looking. But the concept behind the backrooms is that you are just exploring an office space, and then all of a sudden you slip into another dimension, essentially, where you are in a labyrinth of office space that you cannot escape. And then some versions from then, because creepypasta is kind of an evolving mythology in and of itself, so some of the contributions have added monsters or things that are in this area, but the main genesis is just that you are in some other kind of dimension that you did not realize you went into and you cannot get out of, and it's just endless office space.
What do you think makes this so creepy, Bridget?
For me, it's creepy just because I've been in those kind of spaces where it feels labyrinthine.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of my dreams, personally, I am exploring some kind of labyrinth or and it usually is like a house or an office building or something like that, where it's just very labyrinth, and I'm always trying to get somewhere or find something, the Minotaur at the center. I don't know, but it's just, for me, that's a theme. So that is interesting to me, that you could just turn around a corner and all of a sudden you're in this alternate dimension that you can't get out of, and it's something that's really washed out, really generic,
and it's unknown. The fear of the unknown. Once again, there's also have you seen this? I haven't yet, but I'm going to link to this. The Backrooms found footage. There's a YouTube.
There's a lot of YouTubes out there. Yeah,
this one's had like 55 million views. Apparently, it's like a 9-minute video.
Yeah, there's been a lot of fan films created by different people, short fan films and things. So I'm curious to see what a studio like A24 is going to do with this, because first of all, it's a concept, it's an idea. So there's no innate story built into it. So they're going to have to create some kind of narrative around it. And that could either diminish the scariness of it or enhance it. So
yeah,
it'll be interesting to see what they do. I hope they don't turn it into a monster flick, because I think, as much as I love monster flicks, that's not the underlying concept of it.
Is there a, do you know, is there a audio podcast version of the original stories, or just that, you need to get on Creepypasta and read it?
So it's not necessarily a story per se, as it is a thread. So and then people like building upon it, so it's a collaborative story over postings. So I'm not personally aware of an audio of it. I mean, it's just kind of a deep dive where you can go down that rabbit hole
Right.
in Google and Reddit and just
That's a
like I
whole,
said, the original post was from 2019, so it's been expanded exponentially since then. Because it's kind of one of those things with creepypasta, like the whole thing of it is the mystery of where does this thing create, and it's more, oh yeah, this one time this thing happened to me, but it didn't. It's all, is it made up? Is it not? And the mystery of it is kind of the whole intrigue. So then people, oh yeah,
Right.
that happened to me too, and then it just like builds upon. But it's so much of it is invented, and it just kind of becomes its own monster of a story.
that's a whole conversation too,
Mhm.
about people just being creative, strictly for the sake of being creative, and they love that particular storyline or concept or whatever,
Yeah, I mean, it goes back to Lovecraft and the mythos of him saying, I want other writers to build on this and create it. And then it becomes
Yeah.
its own mythology in a way. And that's exactly what creepypastas are.
So, Bridget, when you come to visit, I will take you to my cube farm.
Yes.
Oh
Does it
my-
have yellow carpet and beige walls and
It has blue carpet and gray walls.
nice?
Maybe it was the wallpaper that drove them to
And
it.
then we can play the left-right game with the cubicles, and maybe we'll
Yes,
end up
Oh,
in another
that'd be so
dimension.
cool. But the
I
two of
love-
you would vanish.
The thing is, okay, so
Matthew should listen to the audio drama of the left right game as he's driving.
yeah.
Sorry, Pete, go on.
Oh, but okay, so here's what the first time I tried to listen to the left right game, I did it in the car. And
I did too.
it has warnings not to do that.
But that's just the gauntlet.
Right. Yeah. Like there's like some serious car
Well
crashes
said.
that happen. And but anyway, getting back, so my office is actually like most of the people work in the field, and they work 10-hour days. And so they're done by Thursday, and I work 8-hour days. So I'm often there Friday morning by myself, and buildings make noises when nobody, it's all, when people are there, they're all drowned out. But buildings make noises, and it's creepy. It's just weird,
Yeah.
And then what happens is somebody leaves their phone plugged in, right? Or they leave their phone and it's not plugged in, so it begins to chirp, and it's just like after like 4 hours of listening to this thing chirp, you pick up like the hammer and you're going out there to find it there, and you're roaming up and down. It's like that the smoke detector when the battery's dying,
Oh God.
Oh
but you
gosh, yeah.
don't know
Yeah.
which one it is.
I
But it
have
doesn't
literally
matter.
taken bats to
Oh yeah,
smoke detectors
yeah,
because I couldn't get it to stop beeping.
yeah. You pull the batteries out and it's still going off.
I mean, I'm doing the scene from Office Space where they're beating up the printer in the field.
Yeah.
I'm doing this to the smoke detectors.
Yeah. But anyway, yeah, my office makes noises. That it has its whole own life. And lots of people have fish tanks and plants, and we live in South Florida, so every once in a while
Alligators.
we get it's not uncommon for us to get millipedes and scorpions and things like that roaming through our halls. So people used to walk around like in their bare feet or their socks, and we're like, yeah, don't do that.
Put the socks under those Birkenstocks.
We are a little granola, so
Shame on you. Shame on you for that.
I can laugh. I can joke like that because I'm from the Pacific Northwest originally.
Laird Barron, after I think 10 years since his last collection, has a new collection coming out later this year, I believe it is, called Not a Speck of Light. and I'll include. You can pre-order it now, and that's really so important to writers and publishers. It really is. If you think, I'm going to get that when it comes out, just pre-order it. It really helps. And I assume you're going to get it because it's Laird Barron. So there's that. And then, oh, I just wanted to mention, I said this like a year ago, but the book is creepy and the movie is really, really creepy with Robin Williams, called The Night Listener. Have you guys seen this?
Saw it a long time ago.
Yeah, it's one of Robin Williams' greatest performances. I think only outdone by 1 Hour Photo.
Yeah, and I don't want to say one word about the plot. And if you watch the movie, I hope you'll just trust me and take it on faith that you're going to enjoy watching this.
Based on a novel. Amistad Mopan. Am I saying that right?
Well, I don't know if you're saying it right, but Armistead Maupin. I don't know. That's the writer. Yeah.
Yeah, the is it San Francisco gay writer?
If you're going to anyway,
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are some very, very creepy moments in that film. Don't read the synopsis either. I know I always say that, and don't watch the trailer.
Speaking of don't. So yesterday I
That's
found
a really big topic.
Yesterday I posted a picture of this book I found at Costco, Recipes from the World of H.P. Lovecraft.
What? Oh, come on.
No
But this
seafood
is-
whatsoever.
This isn't the Nom Nom Nomicon. This is
No, it's not, it is a knockoff of the Necronomicon.
Okay, I wondered.
Okay, so Pete, I mean, I as a joke, one person got me as a Christmas present. Are you hungry tonight? Recipes the king loved. How to make a fried peanut butter and banana sandwich. If you actually know what HPL's diet was like, why the fuck would anybody make a cookbook? He'd like a can of chili and a cup of coffee.
Okay, so
And a stale cracker.
This is like my 4th or 5th culinary Lovecraft book.
Right.
So I'm starting to fill up a shelf. I want to make it clear. I was not recommending this book. 3 people have texted me and said they have since bought the book. And
why are you doing this to?
And they're like, "This is a horrible book," and I'm like, "I did not tell you to buy it. It's horrible. Half of it is clip art."
Oh, geez. So are you going to cook any of the recipes?
Now, I will say that some of the recipes are intriguing, but some of them are just stupid. The Necronomicon was much, first of all, better illustrated.
Yes.
Second of all, actual
Original
thought
art
went
by
into-
Kevin Komodo.
Yes. And second of all, some of those recipes are really, really good. So anyway, anytime I tell you I found a book does not mean I am recommending it to you. It just means I found it.
Last, I think, but not least, this trailer looks fucking awful. I don't know why you guys sent us the message. Lovecraftian exclusive trailer.
Because we hated the deep ones. That's
Yeah.
why we.
Lovecraftian horror film, The Old Ones. Yeah. Who did this? DeBron, you did this, didn't you?
Oh yeah, I definitely passed because I know it's Matt's favorite. Favorite director, favorite production. He showed that for he showed not this movie.
Wow.
Why
Deep
is it
ones
wearing
for
a
movie night.
jacket?
This looks
Yep.
really bad.
Again, do not watch the deep ones.
No, that's horrible and not in a good way. It's just
And-
flat out horrible.
DeBronzo, what was the one
It's
we
not even
watched?
funny, horrible.
Was it Brazilian? The Red Sea, the something Mar.
Oh, wait. Oh, I know what you're talking about, but I can't think of the name.
Oh,
What's the guy looked like Harpo Marx?
yes.
He was like an albino. Shit, I can't remember it.
Only
Yeah,
there was
it-
some way, some sort of database.
Well,
to get
I'm
that up.
I'm going through the Bronzo in our chat.
Oh God, good luck with that. I send Pete so many shit movie recommendations. Proud of
Okay,
myself.
so I gotta clarify something. So there was a movie at the film festival called, was it called The Old Gods? It,
Or
something like that. It wasn't very good, but this isn't the same thing we're talking about, right? I'm getting the title
Ooh.
off a bit, I
No.
think, but
I
Yeah,
just
no, I don't
found
think
it.
it's the same thing.
Mar Negro.
That's
What?
it. Yes.
Mar Negro was awful.
Even the title sounds awful.
well, it's Black Sea.
I think it's Brazilian.
Oh,
Which
okay.
nothing against that, but
Yeah.
and they have a prop Necronomicon, which isn't bad, but oh my God, this is a horrible film.
It truly is. I actually blocked it when you started talking about it. I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm like, oh God. Yeah, now I know what you're talking about.
If you think Shriek of the Mutilated is bad,
Oh Lord.
Mar
Yeah,
Negro will set a new bar of low standards.
yes, this is true. Did you recommend it to me, or did I recommend it to you?
I was very inebriated one night, and I was alone in the house, and
Really bad
I decided
combination, first of all.
I would watch it.
You were left unsupervised.
I was. In my defense, I was left unsupervised. And so when Mandy and the girls go out of town and I'm left alone, I don't sleep well. And I just end up watching the shittiest films that I would never watch when anybody else was here.
And when we're lucky enough, he streams it, well, sort of streams it, but Stream of Consciousness is it on Facebook.
Right.
I
Live
did that once
commentary.
or twice.
Yes, live commentary.
And I do.
In his own Facebook post.
In retrospect, Lamageddon is not
Yeah.
that bad of a film
My God.
True. Yeah, you do.
Says a
Yeah.
lot.
compared to Shriek of the Mutilated or Mar Negra. It's not that bad of a movie.
Trick
Well-
Mutilated has its moment.
Did you guys see a movie trailer? And this is not
Nope.
the TV series, but a movie trailer for a movie called Very Frightening Tales. It looks
No.
it looks really good. It's an anthology movie.
Let's see. That's why we didn't see it. It was actually had a chance of being good.
That's probably true. I don't think it's out yet though, actually. But the trailer is interesting. Anyway. Yeah. Clay and Todd, thanks for being here, guys.
Thanks for having us, man.
Thank
Thank
you.
A reminder about the prize.
Yep.
If you want to win a copy or a chance to win a copy of the DVD Fear of the Unknown, send an email to easyprizes@gmail.com. We'll pick a winner in about 6 or 7 weeks.
Include a check to Mike Davis for $50. You're probably going to win it. Well, maybe not. Not if Matt's choosing. Yeah, guys, thanks for being here. Thanks to my panelists for being here. And especially thanks to the patrons. Great conversation. Thanks for being here. And we will see everybody next time.